Welcome to the question of the day. Today we have a question from Kevin in the Seattle area, and his question is, how do you do a ride along? So before I answer this question, I have to answer with a question. And my question is, what are you hoping to accomplish with your ride along? Because really there's two things you're going to accomplish with a ride along. One is a short-term gain, and one is a long-term gain. Short-term gain is going to be that you're closing deals, that you're a sales leader or a sales expert and you're riding along so that when things go off track, you can get it back on track and you're closing deals. Yes, you do close the sale in the short term, and that is a good thing, I guess, but long term you're doing damage because if that was the goal, why don't I just have that person, that sales leader, why don't I just have them running the calls to close the deals? That would get me short-term gains all the time. So it's not, ride-alongs aren't really a short-term strategy. Now, the long-term strategy is that I'm riding along to make my team better, to find out what we're doing well and find out what the opportunities are so that I can coach, that I can train, that I can make us better via those means. Because other than riding along, I don't know. It's like trying to coach a football game without actually being at the game or even watching the game film. And I know there's all kinds of tools out there like AI tools that will record the call and even give you feedback in the moment. And those are great. But as we've learned with AI over the years, it doesn't replace human interaction. There are things you will get with a physical ride along, being there, that you will not get with AI tools. So AI tools are great at supplementing, but they don't replace. You still have to do those physical ride alongs so that you can find the opportunities and grow your team over the long term. So that's the long-term goal that we should have in our mind as we're approaching ride alongs. So then back to that original question from Kevin of, well, how do you do a good ride along? So the first thing you have to do is you have to set expectations. When I go visit a company and do an on-site with a company, I don't know what I'm walking into. I mean, they tell me some things, but I don't know. And so I do the ride along because that's the quickest way I can find out what's working, what's not working. And to do that, believe it or not everybody is excited to see me. Most of the time, the salespeople don't even know who I am. It's just some dork that's going to ride along with me and thinks he's a professional at this, right? And so the first thing I have to do is I have to set expectations. So the first expectation that I set is, this is your call. This isn't my call. I'm not running this. I'm not jumping in on this call. There is no scenario where I am taking over this call. This is absolutely your call. So I just set that expectation. I'm not the one running the call here. If it was, you'd be paying me to be the salesperson. But I'm not running the call. So I'm not jumping in. I'm not taking over. It is your call no matter what. Unless the house burns down, I'm not jumping in to take action. So that's the first expectation. Your call. You're in control. Now, the second one is the introduction, like how to introduce me. I think a lot of times salespeople wonder, like, well, how do I introduce this dork that's riding along with me, right? Like, customers going to be weirded out by this. So first off, let me ease your mind. They're not weirded out by this. They don't know, they don't care. Like, I've never had a customer weirded out that I was riding along, right? But you can cut that off with the intro. And I suggest doing an intro just like this. Short, sweet, pretty vague. As you walk up to the customer, you say something like, hey, this is Chris. He's just here for training. Is that okay? Short and sweet. I never said who was training who. I never said this person's a manager. I never said anything. I just said, this is Chris. He's here for training. Is that okay? Every time customer says, yeah, no problem. Come on inside. I've never had a customer that had a problem with that. Never, not once. So I set those expectations. Your call, and here's how you introduce me. That gets us going. That starts the ride along. Now, from there, let's move to on the call. So when we're on the call, what are you doing during that ride along? Well, the first thing is you're an observer. You are observing. Go back to the expectation we set. You are not taking over this call. The only things you're maybe talking about is commenting on the weather, admiring their truck outside, something like that. Notice the painting hanging. but you are not interjecting. You are not jumping in. You are not taking over. It is not about you. You are simply an observer. One thing that I do to even help that along a little bit is I never wear the company logo when I go along and observe in a ride along. I never lie to the customer and say I'm new either, but they just start to think you're new if you don't have the company logo on. And therefore, they don't really pepper you with questions or even try to pull you into the conversation much. And so you're an observer. This is especially hard if you're the owner of a business or if you are a leader or a manager, because sometimes we want to jump in and take over, especially you owners. This is your baby. This is your business. You can't stand to see anything go wrong and you want to jump in and fix it right away. But that's where you got to remember long-term strategy here. Long-term strategy is growth. Sometimes you got to fail a little bit for you to grow. I have young kids. When they learned to walk, they fell over a bunch of times. But if I was holding their hand all the time, they never would have learned to walk. They just would have learned to lean on me. So you have to let them fall sometimes. You have to let them fail sometimes so that they can grow in the long term. So remember, on the call, you're an observer. So you're quiet, you're not talking much, but you also have to keep track of opportunities that you see, both opportunities that went well to praise the salesperson for, but also opportunities that we want to work on. Now, one thing I suggest is it's good to have a scorecard, but I don't take the scorecard along on the ride along. Nobody's going to feel really good if I'm walking around with a clipboard and a scorecard and I'm just writing notes as we go here. Like, red pen would make it even worse. Don't do that though. Know your scorecard. Know your scorecard in and out. Have a quick way to take notes. Here's what I do. Real sneaky. I just keep a notes page open on my phone. And anytime the customer is like around the corner or not in view or something like that, I'll quick jot down some notes, just some keywords so that I remember what that thing was that I wanted to comment on. Either things that went well or things that are opportunities for us. So know your scorecard, but don't carry your scorecard around. Just take notes privately so that you don't forget. I don't know, maybe some of you have better memories than me, but there's just too much that happens. I tend to forget stuff if I don't write it down. So I have to quick jot it down, keywords, so that I can come back to it later. So that's on the call. I'm quiet and I'm an observer. I'm taking some private notes. So then after the call, now this is the part. This is why people hate ride-alongs. They hate ride-alongs because after the call, this is the part where you get beat over the head. Like, here it is. Tell me all the reasons that I suck. Don't do that. Don't jump in and just barrage them with feedback of what they could do better. In order for somebody to get better, it has to be their idea. I know, like, when my boss tells me to do something, if they just tell me to do something, it's not my idea, I might do it, but I'm going to do it begrudgingly. My heart is not going to be in it. But if it's my idea, if it's my thought, I'm going to have my whole heart and soul in this, and I'm going to be better. And so that's the environment we have to create after a ride along. It has to be their ideas. So typically, this is how it plays out. We get done with a call, and I say nothing, absolutely nothing. Again, I may comment to the salesperson about the weather, or that was a nice customer, something like that, but no feedback whatsoever. Now, usually 99 times out of 100, the salesperson at that point, they go, what'd you think? Right? Like they want to know what you were here this whole time. You made me nervous. Like, I want to know what you think. Right? But even then, I'm not going to take the bait. Okay. Because I don't want to just hit them over the head with feedback. I want it to be their idea. So I'm going to say something in response like, I don't know, went pretty good. What do you think went well? That's the first question I ask them. What do you think went well? Because they're expecting me to focus on the negative. I want to focus on the positive. What are all the things you did really well? What do you think went well? And that's when they'll start saying like, well, I did this really well and that really well. And I think this went well. And usually then we have negative mindsets. People are wired that way. They go right into the opportunity. So they'll start saying what they did well, but then they'll just start saying what they could have done better. Now, if they don't, then I will tease it with a second question. I'll say, well, I mean, if you had it to do over again, what would you do differently? And that gets them thinking about, well, if I did it again, what would I have done differently? Those are your opportunities. Those are the gold mines. Now, usually those things that they bring up are the exact same things I wrote down on my phone. But now it's their idea, their feedback. I didn't hit them over the head with it. Now at that point, I can add value to the conversation, right? So if they say like, man, it just felt like we were all over the place, I might ask like, well, I mean, did we set an agenda at the beginning? Like, so I might add something in, but it's their idea, their feedback. But now we're just collaborating of how it could have went better. So after the call, don't beat them over the head with your feedback. Don't even give them the feedback right away. But when they ask you for feedback, ask them, well, what went well? And if you had it to do over again, what would you do differently? They'll come up with their own feedback. And I guess in the rare occasion where they don't ask you for your feedback, then you could just jump right into it and you could say, well, what do you think went well on that call? But that almost never happens. Like, I would say if that happens, it's probably somebody who's got a poor attitude or doesn't respect you in your position or isn't a good company culture fit. So that almost never happens. I guess it could be they're a space cadet or something too, but almost never happens. So if you do those things, if you set those expectations, if you act that way on the call, and then you follow those two questions after the call, you'll have a successful feedback. The toughest one is the first one. So if you're not doing ride-alongs, that's going to be the toughest one. But once you get past that one, it's going to be easier and easier and easier. And then you want this to be a routine. Salesperson's going to realize like, oh, it's just Tuesday. It's my ride-along day. It's not the day that you're going to beat me over the head. This isn't so bad. Now, in closing here, I want to dispel two myths. So the first myth I want to dispel is micromanaging, right? Like, well, I don't want to ride along because I feel like I'm micromanaging. As a sales leader, that's your job. Your job is to have your fingerprints on every single sales interaction that happens, right? That's why you're in that role. You were put in that role because you had some skills. You were good at something. And whoever hired you, that owner that put you in that position, they put you in that position because they want your fingerprints on every single one. Now, that doesn't mean you take it over, but it means you influence. You have your fingerprints on everyone. And I don't know about you, but I myself, I want my fingerprints on there because I want my team to be successful. And by golly, I'm going to make it successful. One of my mentors, Eric Bowles, came out of the NFL and he compared this to the NFL. He said, look at a team. When a team is struggling, who's the first one they fire? They fire the coach. That's who they fire first. If that doesn't motivate you to get your fingerprints on this and get out there and ride along, I don't know what does. And if you don't believe me, watch the Dolphins and the Jets here pretty soon because I'm betting their coaches aren't going to make it till the end of the season. So, myth number one, you're not micromanaging. Myth number two, well, I don't know. They just get nervous in front of me. They can't do it in front of me. My guy's really unique in the sense that like he's great when I'm not along, but he just can't do it when I'm there. So I want to rephrase that. So what you're telling me is your guy is Tom Brady when he's by himself. But anytime somebody watches him, he becomes a third string backup. He just shrivels up and dies. Like, I don't believe it. What that means is you're either not doing the process or you need more practice because you're not good enough at it. Amateurs practice until they get it right. Professionals practice until they can't get it wrong. In my career, I do calls like this. And in fact, sometimes I'm at the corporate office and my boss will be standing right off to the side while I'm doing a call. Do you think that makes me nervous? Absolutely. I will do workshops. I will do speaking presentations where there's hundreds of people in attendance. The one that makes me most nervous is when my boss is sitting in the back with a scorecard yet, analyzing how well my workshop or my speaking performance is going. And do you think that makes me nervous? Absolutely. All of the above make me super nervous. Does that show? No. Can you tell? No, because I'm a professional. I've done this so many times that I can't get it wrong, even when somebody is watching. So amateurs practice till they get it right. Professionals practice until they can't get it wrong. So that's our question of the day. If you have a question, reach out to me either on email or social media. I have both in the show notes below, and then we'll get it answered for you on the show. Or if you're a Nexstar member, go ahead and schedule a call with me, and we can address this one-on-one with your specific situation. I'm Coach Chris. We'll see you tomorrow.